These are all my secrets for trying to keep my freezers organized and rotated through, especially these chest freezers. It's not perfect, but it works really well. And looking at it and the old food in there that they'd forgotten about, and it just stayed there forever. Sure. So it was unseasonably warm, and now it's cold very suddenly, and I don't like it, and neither do my girls. They've been very angry about it. But we went from plenty of grays to, ooh, we need hay. So now if I don't talk about it, I'm gonna get questioned. You'll notice when I fed the boys earlier, which was that first group of goats there, one of them was wearing sticks around his neck. So that little guy is Possum, our new buck that we bought this year for breeding. And I got a little spoiled on my goat, Benji, which is my original buck, because I can keep him in with a shoestring, as I like to say. Like, he is the best little buck ever. And Mr. Possum is wonderful in a lot of ways. He's gonna bring some really good genetics and some really good characteristics to our farm. But these are what we call the stupid sticks. So these are his stupid sticks. They make a triangle. Let me see if I can pull him. Come here. They look at me. So Possum there had an issue with escaping. In one video, we were able to attach a camera to his collar and find one of his holes. But apparently he has another, and he kept getting out. And at first it wasn't a big deal because he was hanging in the backside of our property. But you can hear that car right there. Our house, which is right here above my head, is so close to the road that he was getting in the road some. So some people with goats, when they use the bigger fencing like this, which is a 4x4, I think this may be a 6x6, they use those bigger cubes, not cubes, they have the bigger squares. Their goats will get their heads through there, and then they can't pull them back because of their horns. So they will attach a stick or a PVC pipe to their horns, so they'll quit getting their heads caught. So what that PVC pipe or stick does to their horns is it prevents them from getting their heads through the fence, so they can't then pull back and get their horns cut. So my goats are all disbutted except one, or they're polled, naturally hornless. Since Possum is disbutted, I attached the sticks around his neck like a cone collar, so he can get his head through the fence but can't get the rest of his body through the fence to keep him in. And it's worked wonderfully. They're not very heavy. He's got plenty of neck muscles. He's just fine. He can eat, he can drink, he can lay down. We've made sure of that. He's doing just fine. He tends to hit me with his stupid sticks, but that's a story for another day. We actually have 2 more goats that will probably get stupid sticks today because they found a hole as well. Ultimately, we're working on getting to that area of fencing so we can prevent them from getting out. Takes time because our fence rows are so overgrown, as you've seen in other videos. If you're new here, you can go look. They're pretty bad, and we're working on it. But that is not the subject of today's video. Today's video is all about my freezer organization. If you've been here for a while, you know we freeze a lot of meat. If you're new here, we currently are homesteading and trying to raise as much as our own food as possible. We are very good at raising our own meat or getting it locally. In years past, we have raised a beef steer. And this year, it did not make sense financially for us to buy our own steer. Typically, we would buy a steer at weaning around 600 pounds, a little less. and then we raise it to about 1,200 pounds, give or take. Sometimes we've gotten them bigger. Then we process them. We would sell half of the meat, and that would pay for a good chunk of what it cost to raise that steer and fill our freezers. For our goal was basically just our time. When we could sell 3 halves, we were able to do that. It paid for the purchase of the animal, the feed for the animals, and our processing. And so we were only at our time and the care of the animals. And it worked out really well. This year, steer prices at weaning were crazy expensive. And so we were actually able to purchase from a local farmer down the road that sells half beefs or whole beefs. Future Farms, shout out. We've bought from them in the past. We've bought a steer of them from weaning, and then as business got bigger, they didn't have steers. We found other steers. They sell pork, and it's amazing. We will buy a pig from them in the spring. So we bought our beef from them this year, and it is a lot of meat to take on. We got, I think our steer was around 1,600 pounds on the hoof, maybe a little less, I'm not sure. But we got around 300 pounds of meat back just in our beef steer. And we still have other stuff in our freezer. We had eggs frozen, we have milk frozen, we have other stuff frozen. So I want to kind of show you how we organize that and how we keep track of what we have. Because in your freezer, your meat is good for about a year, and so you want to rotate through that and not keep stuff too long in your freezers. You can check it, and I've eaten meat that's older than a year. We just try to rotate it through, make sure we get through it in a year. I like knowing exactly what my cuts are in there to the best of my abilities, so I know when I sit down to make my menu every week, I know what I should be cooking, and kind of make sure the premium cuts don't get blown through right at the beginning, and then I'm stuck 9 months with no of those things. My steaks, my roast. We really like the cube steak, or like the minute steaks. They're tenderized, and we do them like shish kebabs. They're so good. So I'm going to try to walk y'all through a little bit of how we organize our freezers. And we have 3 freezers. We have a stand-up freezer, which I think is 17 cubic feet. And then we have 2 chest freezers that are right at 7 cubic feet. And we also try to group our meats. And so you'll see that in a minute. Let's go over here to my freezers. But before we do, I'm going to talk about one of them, because all 3 of my kids are home, and it is loud in my house today because they are wound up on Thanksgiving spite. But I have a freezer in the house now in my office. And so in that freezer, its main purpose is to keep my quick grab stuff. My milk for soap and lotion, my egg stuff is in there as well, which is quiches and burritos that I froze in the peak of our egg production to have in the winter. Right now we're not getting as many eggs. So Reagan for breakfast is eating those burritos and quiches, and we're selling the eggs, a lot of the eggs we get, because it makes more sense to use those use our freezer stock. And I do have a sheet where this is the first year we've done this, and we did a freezer inventory, and we wrote down everything in our freezers, and as we use it, we mark stuff off. We tried to do it last year, didn't work out, but this year I have it, and I'm so happy with it, because when I'm sitting down to do my menu, I don't have to run out to my freezers and look or try to remember. It's just there. So this is, that's my ice cream bowl. So as you can see, this has a lot of chicken. We've got our whole chickens. There's some chicken breasts that I bought from a meat sale in bulk. That's how I kind of supplement. I keep our farm-raised chickens as whole, and I supplement in with breast and thighs. We have a little bit of sausage left from pig, and so there's also some just ground pork. But this is also a little bit of an overflow. So down here we have the leftover of our ground that would not fit in my stand-up freezer, and there's actually a milk crate. I can't move everything. There we go. So you can see that black right there. That is a milk crate, and then these are all tubes of 2-pound meat standing up, and then these are just the ones that wouldn't stand up. We also have my beef fat in here. This was my overflow. It did not fit in my stand-up of my beef. So that freezer just holds primarily our chicken, and a little bit of overflow, and my ice cream bowl. Now, our stand-up freezer. These are all eggs that I have frozen. And these are good for baking. I labeled them. Yeah, these are a little older. But I labeled them. So this has 3 eggs in there. So if I need to bake something with 3 eggs, I grab 1 container. And they are pre-scrambled in those containers. In that 1 cow, we got 170 pounds of ground meat. So that is all ground beef. Ooh, this one needs to be, oh no, we're good. I thought it had a tear in the plastic. We get ours done in 2-pound logs because primarily I cook 2 pounds at a time. If I cook spaghetti, I need 2 pounds. So we started doing 2 pounds. On this shelf, you have all your roast, and we love our processor we're using because they try to freeze stuff as flat as possible so it stacks very well. Also, these are bones that I will turn into broth eventually. Here is just some of our smaller cuts that don't really stack well. Your flank steaks and stuff like that. That's a roast. Here's all, you know, we're grouping everything together here. So you've got these are our New York strips. This is our tenderized, those minute steaks I was telling y'all about. Apparently that stew meat wants to be eaten. These we turn into shish kebabs. This is our sirloins. Ribeyes are up here, right? Oh, that's sirloin too. So it's not perfect, but it does work very well. And we actually typically do deer hunt. I have started deer hunting last year for the first time and didn't get anything. Reagan typically goes during rifle season. I crossbow, or attempt to crossbow, I guess. I get to claim I can crossbow when I get my first deer. Reagan typically rifle hunts. So this year we did not deer hunt because of the amount of beef we were getting and just time. We have plenty of beef, we have plenty of chicken. So we are perfectly fine with that. Let me go get my sheet real quick. This is by no means a professional sheet, but I appreciate Reagan doing it because it helps me. So it is very basic. He's listed all our beef up here, all the way down. We have our chicken or a fowl because we did have a turkey. Let's see, we have our pork, which we don't have a lot of right now. We're getting another pig in the spring. A few vegetables. This is a few things of ground venison we still have left over from a year ago or so. And then this is our eggs and milk list. Oh, are you just gonna hold the camera so I can talk?
I'm done doing what I need to do.
Okay, so now I have a cameraman again. So it's a very basic list, but it really helps. I keep it on the fridge and I just write, after I pulled something, I change the number next to it. We obviously on this do not have enough to show all that ground beef. So we'll just keep using ground beef. We hardly ever run out of ground beef throughout the year. We actually had 4 pounds left when we brought this cow home. We do sometimes give our ground beef to our grandparents. We've traded ground beef for Heather and Levi coming to help us do things around the house, you know, process our chickens. So we use that ground beef for a lot of purposes. We hardly ever run out, but we love it. I do not have a ton of vegetables in here. Normally I have more corn. We've used a lot of our corn already. I'll have to up it next year, but I have another freezer, so it should be a little easier. We're also in the time where my milk supply is going down. Our eggs that are frozen are going down, so we have a little more space in that freezer as well. The big thing is making sure we rotate through this stuff so you don't 3 years from now go through finding that back corner of your freezer. Oh man, here's a steak from 3 years ago and it is really nasty looking and it's freezer burnt. Especially these chest freezers, I remember as a kid going to my grandmother's and looking in it and the old food in there that they'd forgotten about, and it just stayed there forever. I'm sure other people have those experiences. So we try to stay organized. It's not perfect, but it works really well. And a big thing is also keeping stuff frozen flat. The more you can stack, the better. I supplement in with some bulk sales of chicken breast and chicken thighs when I find them on sale. Usually they come in a 40-pound box when I buy them, and I process them all for a meal for our family. So these are the chicken breast. My thighs are in my freezer in the house. And like I said, it's loud, so we're not going in there. But the flatter the better. So when I freeze these, I lay them flat, let them freeze, and then I'll start stacking them where they need to go. Sometimes I keep these some in the house as well. And even making sure our wings are flat as possible. And legs. Nice flat packaging. These are all my secrets for trying to keep my freezers organized and rotated through. I worked fast food for many years when I was younger, and so the first in, first out has been ingrained in my head to the point I even do it with our soaps. When I used to coupon shop, the first in was the first out. You can ask Reagan, because he'd get annoyed by it, because he'd want to try the new scent and he wasn't allowed to, because he had to use the old ones first. So this is our secrets for how we keep our freezers organized. I do try to use bins when I can. I can't always because of the types of freezers we have. Sometimes a lot of people have really good luck with bins. Just make sure that if they get wet, they don't freeze to your freezer, because that's not good either. And making sure they're thick is also a good idea. That's why we have that milk crate for that beef, so it stands up. But that's all I have for you today, guys. Thank you for coming along in my freezer explanation, and hopefully I didn't ramble too much for y'all. But I'll see you on the next video, guys. I'm Megan from the GWP Homestead. Bye.